picture this, right? You're standing on the bridge of this giant oil tanker, and you're slowly navigating the choppy waters right off the Yemeni coast.
Right, which is already incredibly tense.
Oh, exactly. And suddenly, the radar pings. It picks up something that's incredibly small, but moving incredibly fast straight from the shoreline.
Like a speedboat or something.
Right, but worse.
Yeah.
Because before the captain can even issue an evasive command, a Houthi anti-ship missile just tears through the air, and it narrowly misses the hull of your massive ship by just 200 meters.
Wow.
Which, 200 meters out in the open ocean, that is basically a graze.
It really is. And, if that missile had actually found its target, the resulting fireball wouldn't just claim the ship and its crew. It would vaporize millions of dollars of energy supply in just a fraction of a second. But the sheer scale of this threat, it only really becomes clear when you look at what is happening at the exact same time. Because at that precise moment, like 1,000 kilometers to the north, in the pitch black darkness of the Strait of Hormuz, an Iranian suicide boat is just tearing through the water at 80 knots.
80 knots in the dark. That's terrifying.
Right. And beneath it, completely hidden in the depths, there are naval mines scattered all along the only navigable shipping lane. And the direct result of that coordinated pressure, 2 Indian tankers are forced to just turn completely around, sending 2 million barrels of Iraqi oil right back where they came from.
Honestly, it sounds like the opening scene of some geopolitical thriller novel.
It really does, yeah.
But it's not. This is the daily reality playing out right now. And it was all captured in this recent, incredibly comprehensive intelligence breakdown from the Steppe News Agency.
Right, their YouTube video report.
Exactly. And their report outlines this massive economic and military threat that has basically been escalating since the conflict broke out on February 12th, which, of course, culminated in a total U.S. naval blockade of Iranian ports on April 13th.
Right.
So, okay, let's unpack this, because our mission for this deep dive is to really understand the mechanics, the harsh military realities, and the, well, frankly, terrifying global economic math of what happens if 2 vital waterways, the Strait of Hormuz and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, are just closed down simultaneously.
Yeah, and the stakes here are, they're existential for global supply chains. The Steppe News report actually highlights a very specific statement from the Houthis that kind of sets the baseline for their whole strategy.
What do they say?
They stated, and this is a quote, "If we close Bab el-Mandeb, neither humans nor jinn can open it."
Oh, wow. So neither humans nor jinn.
Right. And for context, in Islamic tradition, jinn are these unseen spirits or like supernatural forces. So they are essentially saying that absolutely no power on earth, natural or supernatural, can break their hold on that water.
That is a wildly bold claim.
It is. And our goal today is to impartially examine the hard facts, the military tactics and the logistics detailed in the report, to just see if that claim holds up under scrutiny. We're not taking sides. We're just looking at what this actually means for the rest of the world.
Well, before we can even touch on the economic avalanche that this could trigger, we have to understand the physical geography of these 2 waterways.
Definitely.
Because looking at a global map, these 2 straits, they look like the world's 2 most critical carotid arteries.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, like if you pinch one, the global economy basically loses consciousness.
Sure.
But if you pinch both, it is game over. But I do have to push back a little bit on the premise of that Houthi quote, the whole "no one can open it" thing.
Okay, why is that?
Well, I'm looking at the map, and we're talking about the ocean.
Right.
And standard military logistics dictate you need, thousands of ships to blockade a coast. Is closing Bab el-Mandeb really that easy? It's the ocean. How do you just close a massive body of water?
Well, what's fascinating here is that our perception of the ocean kind of betrays us. We picture these vast, endless expanses of blue water where ships can just, sail around trouble.
Exactly, like just go wider.
But Bab el-Mandeb is not an expansive ocean at all. It is a severe geographical choke point. At its narrowest, it is merely 29 kilometers wide.
Wait. 29 kilometers.
Yeah.
So it's less of an open water naval battle and more of a canyon ambush.
Exactly.
That distance is essentially a daily work commute for a lot of people. You could practically see across it on a clear day.
It really is a tiny needle eye for global trade to have to thread, and the geography heavily, heavily favors the defense because the Houthis entirely control 1,900 kilometers of the eastern Yemeni coastline that borders this whole area.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and to shut down a 29-kilometer-wide corridor, you don't need a massive armada of battleships facing off in deep water. You really only need an anti-ship missile with a range of, say, 360 kilometers positioned literally anywhere along that massive, rugged coastline.
And I'm guessing they have those.
Oh, absolutely. As the report details, their arsenal is heavily stocked with exactly those weapons.
Man, that completely flips the mental image. It's not a naval blockade at all.
Yeah.
It's a toll booth with a sniper tower.
That's precisely what it is.
And contrasting these two straits really highlights the dual nature of this whole threat. Because looking at the Strait of Hormuz, that is the ultimate energy choke point. The report notes, 21 million barrels of oil pass through there every single day.
Right, which is roughly a fifth of the world's total daily oil consumption, just bottlenecked into one highly vulnerable shipping lane.
But then you look at Bab al-Mandab. It holds another 6 million barrels of oil daily, sure. But crucially, it handles 12% of all global trade.
Yeah, and that's everything from, staple food shipments and vital medical supplies to heavy agricultural equipment and just everyday consumer electronics.
Right, so when you hear Strait of Hormuz, it's super easy to tune it out as this, distant geopolitical problem.
Sure, because it feels far away.
But the reality is, a closure there dictates what you are going to pay at the gas pump tomorrow morning. And a closure at Bab al-Mandab dictates whether your local pharmacy has your prescription in stock or whether the grocery store shelves are just completely empty.
Exactly.
So if Hormuz is an energy crisis, Bab al-Mandab is an everything crisis.
Which brings us to the mechanics of how this threat is actually being executed, because knowing where the choke points are is really only half the puzzle.
Right.
The other half is analyzing the surprising military tactics being deployed, tactics that are entirely bypassing traditional naval supremacy.
Okay, this is the part of the report I really want to dig into, because I'm looking at the list of U.S. naval assets deployed to counter this.
Right, it's a massive fleet.
It's insane. The USS Abraham Lincoln, the USS Gerald R. Ford, multiple destroyers, thousands of Marines. I mean, it sounds like a swarm of angry bees taking on a heavily armored knight.
It really does.
Shouldn't massive U.S. naval power just be game over for these blockades? Traditional military doctrine says this level of overwhelming force secures an area instantly. A carrier strike group brings the big guns, and the small boats are supposed to scatter. Why is this massive force failing to clear a 29-kilometer gap?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, we are seeing a literal masterclass in asymmetric warfare. It's specifically built on the concept of attrition over victory.
Attrition over victory.
You're right. The report details a major U.S. campaign called Operation Ike Fury, and the U.S. brought that overwhelming force to bear. They destroyed Iranian mine-laying ships, obliterated coastal missile sites, and burned oil facilities on Karg Island. It was a massive, highly destructive, kinetic response.
So they hit the infrastructure really hard.
They did.
But clearly, destroying those static sites didn't solve the actual problem.
No, because Iran and the Houthis are not trying to win a traditional ship-to-ship naval battle. Their strategy does not rely on holding territory or defeating the U.S. Navy in some direct engagement.
So what do they do?
They rely on countless, highly mobile, tiny launch points scattered all across that massive 1,900-kilometer coastline. I mean, a missile launcher can be mounted on the back of a regular commercial truck, driven to the coast, fired, and then hidden away in a cave before a retaliatory strike can even be authorized.
Wow, so they just shoot and scoot.
Exactly. And they also rely on invisible underwater mines and highly maneuverable suicide boats operating in the dark. Their entire goal is simply to exhaust U.S. missile defenses.
And that makes the math incredibly dangerous for a traditional military. I mean, a non-state actor fires a relatively cheap, say, $20,000 suicide drone, right?
Right.
And the U.S. Navy is forced to shoot it down with a highly advanced interceptor missile that costs upwards of $2 million.
Yes. The economics of it are terrible for the Navy.
Eventually, the billion-dollar warship just simply runs out of ammunition.
Exactly. The International Institute for Strategic Studies actually categorizes the Houthi stockpile as a hybrid arsenal. They are utilizing ballistic and cruise anti-ship missiles, suicide drones, and unmanned explosive boats.
That's a lot of different threats.
It is. And the Step News report notes these weapons are largely adapted from Iranian models, which have been basically reverse engineered and adapted locally to be cheap, plentiful, and incredibly deadly.
Yeah, I was reading this section about the U.S. tactical response, and it's just mind-bending. General Dank publicly acknowledged that they had to deploy A-10 Warthog planes to hunt down these speedboats and Apache helicopters to intercept the drones.
Yeah, that was a major shift.
I mean, they are using specialized close air support aircraft planes that were originally built to destroy Soviet tanks in Europe to hunt little fiberglass boats over the ocean.
Well, that adaptation is necessary because